This training is presented by the California Student Aid Commission. Welcome to our Middle Class Scholarship 2.0 Training Module Series. This is Module 4, Reconciliation and Recertify Status. In this module, we will discuss the following topics: General Reconciliation Guidelines, Steps to Reconcile, Helpful Reports, Recertify Status, and Tips and Recommendations. First, we'll cover the general guidelines of MCS reconciliation. All MCS participating institutions are required to reconcile MCS funds by the year-end reconciliation deadline. The final deadline usually falls in mid to late September following the award year. Any discrepancies must be resolved on a per-record basis, meaning every paid student must be reconciled. The variance between a student's actual award and the paid amount should not exceed more than $6 for the award year. Any excess or undisbursed MCS funds must be returned to CSAC. If an institution still has outstanding funds after the final reconciliation deadline, CSAC will invoice the institution. These unused funds must be returned to CSAC within 90 days of receiving the year-end invoice. Here are some important tasks for schools to complete prior to year-end reconciliation. All records in recertify status should be fixed. We will discuss recertifying awards later in this module. Schools should also resolve errors on their weekly award rejects report and accept reject report. It is also important to regularly review the payment activity report, student reconciliation report, and your campus MCS ledger. We will discuss these reports in further detail later in this module. Next, we'll walk through your steps to reconcile. There are 4 steps to MCS reconciliation. First, comparing the grand totals on the payment activity report from web grants and your school's MCS ledger. Second, identifying which terms have a discrepancy by comparing the total disbursements per term. Third, narrow it down even further by identifying which students are impacted using the Student Reconciliation Report from web grants. And fourth, resolve any discrepancies by making payment corrections or adjustments in web grants and/or your school's financial aid management system. Let's take a closer look at each step in greater detail. Step 1 involves running the payment activity report in web grants and comparing it to your school's MCS ledger. If your school has a balance between the amount reported to the commission and the payments dispersed at your school, your report will show a total balance up to date. If there is a dollar amount here after the final year-end reconciliation deadline, your school will be invoiced for these extra funds. To compare the year-to-date grand totals, scroll down to year-to-date activity at the bottom of the report. You can see the grand totals for each term and for the full award year. The second step in the reconciliation process is comparing disbursement totals by term. Take your payment activity report from web grants and compare the term totals to your school's MCS ledger. This step allows you to narrow down where your discrepancies may be. For example, CSAC University discovered that the fall disbursement amount from their school ledger did not match the amount listed for fall on their payment activity report. It appears CSAC University has a $2,231 discrepancy for the fall 2023 term. Now that CSAC University has identified which term has a discrepancy, they can narrow down the search even further by comparing student by student. To compare disbursement amounts for each student, schools should utilize the Student Reconciliation Report from web grants. This report can be filtered to display students with reported payments by term. Review the payment history student by student and verify that the payment amounts on this report match your school's MCS ledger. Also, be sure to confirm that the payment amounts reported align with the student's enrollment level. In our example, CSAC University was able to compare their Student Reconciliation Report with their MCS ledger to identify two students with mismatched award amounts for fall. This means the amount dispersed by the school does not match what was reported in web grants. Schools should determine whether the discrepancy was caused by a web grants reporting error or an accounting error within their own financial aid management system. The following questions should be addressed. Was the payment misreported in web grants? Was the payment misreported in the school system, but the student was dispersed the correct amount? And was the student dispersed too much or too little in MCS funds? In our CSAC University example, the school determined that one of the mismatched students had to be updated in web grants, and the other mismatched student had to be updated in their own financial aid management system. The final step in reconciliation is correcting errors in web grants or in your school's financial aid management system. Once these errors have been rectified and processed, you should rerun your payment activity report, student reconciliation report, and your school's MCS ledger to confirm that the balances match and all funds are reconciled. Let's take a closer look on how to run MCS reports in web grants. To access MCS-specific reports, including the payment activity and student reconciliation reports, log into web grants for institutions. Under the MCS banner, click Report Download. Use the drop-down menu to select which report type you wish to run. You must also select an academic year and the report month. We recommend setting month to all to see the entire report history for that academic year. You must also select a media type. Please note that some file types are available only as a data file, while others are available only as a report. If you attempt to run a report and get no results, be sure to confirm that you have selected the correct response for both month and media type. These are 6 essential MCS reports for schools to review. The first 3 are listed on this slide and are helpful to review often throughout the entire academic year. They should be reviewed weekly to best prepare for reconciliation. The 3 following reports were covered in greater detail in MCS Training Module 1 enrollment files. The enrollment file report is available in both a data file and report media type and lists students who were ineligible for an MCS award or were rejected from the school's enrollment file. The award rejects report is available only in a report format and identify students who were rejected due to mismatched data between CSAC system and the enrollment file submitted by the school. The roster file report is available only in a data file and lists all award info for students currently on the school's MCS roster. The Accept Reject report is available as a data file and lists students who had payments or corrections during that week. This report has 3 sections. The Exception section includes students who could not be processed due to having both a payment and a correction applied in the same file. The Rejected section lists payments and corrections that were rejected. The Accepted section displays all payments and corrections that were successfully processed. As discussed earlier in this module, the payment activity and student reconciliation reports are critical when reconciling MCS funds. Now we will discuss Recertify status for the MCS program. What is Recertify status? An MCS payment goes into Recertify status when it must be recertified by the campus for the new or correct award amount. What causes a payment to go into Recertify status? When a student was previously paid for a term and a correction is applied at the annual or term level, the MCS payment goes into Recertify status. This can occur when changes to the income, other aid, or tuition and fees cause the award to be recalculated. The new award amount overrides the current payment amount and therefore must be recertified by the school. How is this status resolved? The school must verify the new payment amount using either the enrollment status payment function or the Refund Adjustment Payment option within the Web Grants MCS Display Roster page. To identify payments in Recertify status, start by logging into Web Grants and selecting MCS Display Roster under the MCS banner. Next, click the Recertify Only box and then click Search. By leaving the Social Security number and name boxes blank, you will be able to pull all students in Recertify status. Then review your results below. Please note, Web Grants will only display up to 120 records on this page. Be sure to click Download Roster at the top right to obtain a full list of payments currently in Recertify status. To recertify a payment for a student, click on their student record and scroll down to the Term Data section. Here you can recertify the new payment amount by using the Enrollment Status dropdown or the Adjustment Reason Code dropdown to report a different status. In this example, this student was originally paid at full-time enrollment for $1,844. You can tell by looking at the red font in brackets next to enrollment status and amount paid/verified. The school then reported a correction that ended up reducing the student's maximum term award to $220. As a result, the school must recertify the payment for $220 at full time. The school can easily recertify by selecting full-time under enrollment status and clicking Save. The amount paid/verified field will automatically populate to $220. Recertification is critical when there is a true difference between the award amount and the paid amount. Emergency regulations permit schools to recertify awards only if the discrepancy is greater than $6 for the entire academic year. For example, if the school paid the student $1,844, but Web Grants showed $1,846 in recertify status, the school can leave the student's payment at $1,844. We will wrap up this module with reconciliation tips and recommendations. For a successful year-end reconciliation, CSAC recommends that schools reconcile weekly or monthly by utilizing the Payment Activity and Student Reconciliation Reports. Awards in recertify status should be reviewed weekly or monthly using the Export function on the roster screen. Be sure to refer to the MCS Handbook and Payment Roster File Layout for specific payment scenarios. And be sure to subscribe to the CSAC listserv to receive important MCS updates and deadline information. Here are some helpful resources. For more middle class scholarship resources, be sure to visit our MCS webpage for schools. There you will find the comprehensive MCS 2.0 handbook, enrollment file layouts, payment roster file layouts, and other output data layouts. Thank you for watching Module 4 of our Middle Class Scholarship 2.0 Training Module Series.